This is Lizzie from Let Zoe Spoil You.
And Sagira from Sagira Salutes You. And together we are Newbie versus Weeaboo. Sagira, Newbie.
Lizzie, a Weeaboo.
It's Newbie versus Weeaboo.
Ahoy!
Heidi hi.
Hello! And welcome to another Newbie versus Weeaboo, where we've finished Parasyte, but we're not finished because we have to do our regular review of the review.
Hey! Final thoughts.
Final thoughts, things that we may not have brought up, things that we'd like to bring up again, and just general chitty chattiness.
Yes.
Without me reciting an entire script of what happened. I don't have to prepare much for this one.
You can just let the opinions fly.
Exactly, I can just speak my mind. So yes, as I've said, we are doing a review on our most recent anime, which was Parasyte. And Lizzie, thoughts?
It's normally slightly more structured than that, isn't it? You normally ask me a question.
Well, we'll start with how we always start, and that was, who was your favourite character?
So my favourite character is Tamara Reika. I love Reika because I think she had the most character development, and she was the interesting kind of like grey figure of Parasyte and human. She was showing us all the like, oh, are humans the parasites or monsters? Or are parasites the monsters or the parasites? And she was everything in one and learnt, and I liked her. And she had really cool hair.
Indeed, yes. You can argue of her learning the most because, I mean, Shinichi and Miggy learnt a hell of a lot through each other, especially Miggy with his ending. He wrapped my heart. But I do know what you mean in terms of the parasites. She was the one who had the most development, the one that learnt the most, the one that was pretty much on the verge of being human herself.
Yeah. She was the one that took the time to understand the human race. Even though at first she was like, I don't care. She was like, actually, by understanding this, I've found ways to survive and exist. And also she imparted her wisdom onto Shinichi. Plus her sacrifice for her baba always kind of like, that always makes me cry, that bit. Because she finally realises the value of a life and the fact that you get maternal instinct, and she had the ability to like nurture something and realise that she would have wanted something to continue. It was just not a nothing to her.
Yeah, she was a really good character. She was very entertaining as well, especially when she went running through the street with a shark face, loving life.
And they're like, there's nothing inside my head. She's just having the time of her life with her weird, bizarre. She had developed a sense of humour, but it was really, really morbid and kind of not quite human, but at the same time, ha ha ha, there's nothing in my head. Ha ha ha, I'm having a lovely time, like being chased down and nearly murdered.
My favourite, I think you know who my favourite is.
I was going to go with Miggy, but like...
I do love Miggy, but it's the person who I say every time he ends up in an episode.
Uda.
Uda!
And
I
Jaw.
love Uda and Jaw. They were just like that nice little comic relief in a world that was so dire, and they came in at the right time. And just every time they turned up, you just knew that there was going to be some sort of comedy because of Jaw. Not necessarily Uda, but Jaw was just like a sassy, Americanized.
Yeah, learn how to talk via television. And clearly he was like, oh dear.
Yeah, exactly. So, and also maybe it's because they met by the beach, and I like the beach. And so I always think of like seasidey things whenever I think of Uda and Jaw. But yeah, so they were my favorite. But yes, Miggy was another one who was my favorite because I always go for those kind of like cute. You say cute, but he's not cute, but he is cute. It's
bizarre
weird.
Things.
Not typical cute. It's kind of like, I don't want to say ugly, but ugly cute.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's so ugly, it's cute. And yeah, Miggy was a very good character. But yes, I think Uda first and then Miggy is my order. Okay, your least favourite character?
Oh, that's an interesting one. The thing is, I didn't really dislike anyone. I got annoyed by Kanna's naivety. Like, she stressed me out a bit. I didn't dislike her as a character, but I was like, woman, just read the situation better. Stop being so lovesick, you teenage girl. There's bigger things. But obviously the easiest one is origami. That's it. Something went blank then. So yeah, origami. But the thing is, he's not my least favourite character, but because he's a good character and really interesting. But he was the monster. He was the biggest monster of them all.
I know it's like morally you should hate him,
Yeah.
but as a character
Oh.
he was interesting.
So I know, because as a character, the one I disliked the most was the guy he killed, the police officer that was just as big a monster, really.
Nagishi.
Yes.
Yes, that's who I've put down. I put down Irigami first because because like I say, morally you should hate that character, but he was very interesting. He had a lot of interesting things to say. But yeah, Yamagishi, he was literally there to kill.
Yeah. He was meant to be human, and he proved even more inhumane. He was just a bit of a dick, and he was all too egotistical about how cool and good he was, and how awesome he'd be at killing parasites. And it's like, no, check your ego, just your ability to like actually understand the whole picture. And
yeah, it's the fact that I feel like there's no logic behind what he was doing. It was like they did all this research, they did all this planning and stuff to try and make sure that as few people died and they got what they went in for, but one blip and he just gave up on everything and just went, okay, plan 2 is to kill.
yeah,
And it's like that's not how it should be. He should have planned better, but I think it's what he wanted. It
yeah,
feels
he
like
wanted a
this is
kill fest.
perfect. Yeah, he just wanted to go in and shoot things up, and didn't matter who it was or why they were there. He just wanted to kill and be like, oh, whoopsie, collateral damage.
Yeah,
I can do that because of my position. And that goes to the whole abusing your position in those kind of roles, doesn't it? Which isn't great. And also the whole directive of they went in to kill the parasites no matter who got hurt. It's like, no, you are human, you have your own mind. If you feel something's wrong, you can stop it.
yeah. Don't just
He
follow
didn't.
orders blindly.
Mm.
But
Which is
he,
exactly what he did. Because part of him wanted to do that. Part of him wanted to be able to say, well, that was my job, that was my role. I had to go in and kill
yeah,
things.
no culpability for any of the civilians lost because he didn't really care about the civilians. He clearly was doing the job because he liked killing things.
Exactly. So yeah, in that way, yeah, I agree. Yamagishi was the worst. What was your favorite moment? And this is a hard one because it's so much, and it like there's so many different storylines going on.
Yeah, because it all depends on like there's favourite moments as on character development. Like breaks my heart, but Reiko protecting the baby always just gets to me because it's that beautiful. She's learnt, and the bit when she turns into Shinichi's mum to try and like get through to him, and then all of a sudden floods of tears because she's understanding the nature of the human heart and the humanity within both of them. It's like I always do love Mega Arm when he fully like parasites hardens awesome up his arm to throw the tennis ball through all that distance to go smoosh. That's pretty cool. I like that bit.
Yeah, I do like. I've written down that yeah, when she heals Shinichi's heart, that was a really nice moment because so much was being said then. Because when that fortune teller said to him, "Oh, only the person who broke your heart can fix it," and it's like, well, how the hell is he gonna do that? Like, as an audience,
Yeah.
we're like, what? How? It's not gonna happen. So he's doomed basically. And then that scene happens, and you're like, ah,
Aw, well done,
she
Reiko.
fixed
You
it.
managed to heal
It was like a gift.
Shinichi.
It
Yeah.
was a gift that she gave him right at the end, and that's like, it's lovely. But the other moment that I liked was when Yuko threw the paint thinner to save herself.
Oh
I thought that was
yes.
an awesome moment because she wasn't really a big character, but she had a huge moment. She showed us, oh, kill the parasites from within. That's what you should do.
Yeah.
Like she had no training. She didn't know the parasites. It's only through her brother really that she knew anything about them and being sneaky. But yeah, and she just went for it and she managed to completely mess him up. So I thought that was a
Yeah.
really good moment.
That was a strong moment. Yeah.
Something we always love talking about, worst moment. And when I say worst moment, I don't mean the moment that you didn't necessarily like. I mean, the one that made you feel things negatively. Do you know what I mean?
The one that broke your heart the most.
Broke your heart or made you angry or
It's hard to
just
say because
negative
there's worse
feelings.
moments, but I understand them as plot beats. Like,
Yeah.
I always forever hate the mum getting killed because it was so early and so traumatizing. But I didn't think she would die like 5 episodes in. It was just like, oh no, oh my goodness, that really stung.
Yeah.
Um, uh,
Especially after
yeah,
you see the story of her saving Sonichi. Like you
yeah.
realise what a loving mum she was and how big she was in his life. And then that happened and yeah, you're
And
absolutely
then it's
right. It
like,
was
yeah, he comes down the corridor and she just turns around the corner and it's like, nope, she Parasyte. And also, I think the other worst moment, I think Kanna's death, that she's just because that frustrated me so much. It's like, he's like, don't go following any of those things. Oh, I sense Shinichi. It must be Shinichi. Of course, it's just going to be him that I sense. No, you were sensing other ones. Even you have cottoned on that you were sensing the other ones, but your belief that it must be Shinichi because you sense him the most, and the whole like, oh no, naive for such a strong like girl, she just like fell to naivety and hope and wishful thinking, and then Shinichi turning up just to see her die in front of him, and which makes Shinichi go a little bit psycho and completely like pulverizing a parasite but really inhumanly. It's just like, oh, frustrating, girl. You didn't need that death. Shinichi didn't need your death on his conscience. That shouldn't have happened if you had just listened and stopped being like, but I love him.
Yeah. And the whole thing of she knew that him and Murano were together, but yet she was so convinced that they belonged together, she was willing to break that up, even if Shinichi didn't want it. So yeah, she was a little bit manipulative, little bit, like you say, naive, and she just became obsessed, and that's what obsession does to you, isn't it? It
Yeah.
makes you believe things that aren't really there, and it's really quite damaging. Obsession. She's a cautionary tale, that girl.
Yes.
I have a few. Firstly, the cat.
Oh.
Mostly because when you said like that's something that happened in Japan, it's like, well, in the anime, they get let the cat go, the cat gets away, so that's fine. But that would mean in real life there were cats that didn't get away, so that then made my mind go into overdrive with all the poor kitties. So I had to go and hug
Yeah.
Luna for a little while because it made me sad. And then from the cat, the puppy, that was sad. That made my heart hurt.
It was like, oh dear, to kill the animals, the anime. If you pause in,
Oh,
they're going, is there any more cute animal death? No, be fine, be
I know
fine.
even the happy pappy bounding out at the end, like that didn't even save it because it's like, yeah, but it's bounding out behind the tree because it's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know. No, I did not like that. Any multiple bullet wounds, because that happened aplenty. Lots
Oh
of,
yeah.
especially ones that didn't bleed. Holy moly! Like, yeah, tryptophobia trigger a galore.
Yes. I've got to make sure that the next anime I choose doesn't have cute animal death, tricksterphobia, or cannibalism. I'm so sorry how often that seems to come up. And I was like, oh, it's like there's only two things you don't like: cannibals and tricksterphobia. And I've managed to choose two things that have animals, tricksterphobia, like cannibals, tricksterphobia, and animal cruelty. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh
Oh
dear.
dear. I'm telling you, the next one needs to be banana. I'm telling you. Nothing but happy banana. The last moment that made me feel really uneasy, and I think it's in terms of uneasiness, because there's a lot of things like when the parasites kill each other, when the parasites kill people and ate people, like all that, yeah, was uneasy. But again, it's a monster killing something. It wasn't completely cannibalism, but it was still that kind of bending that way. But it was Uragami's backstory when he was telling you
Yeah.
about how he is and why he is, and like I said it in the actual episode when he's killing the girl in the field, the fact it's daylight, the fact that anyone
Yeah.
could just come along and see it, and he's just killing this poor girl and
Gleefully
loving
murdering this
it.
poor girl, and yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, it made me feel really, oh no.
Yeah, it's the realism of it all. It's like that's an
Yeah.
actual thing that can happen, rather than like the rest of it that you've managed to like go, well, I'm just watching a show about parasites.
And just the way he's just so happy and how much joy it brings him to do this to these poor girls. It's yeah, awful. Hated it. This is the thing that made me come away going, oh, I didn't like that episode. So going from the favourite moments, what's the most heartwarming moment?
Oh,
Because there were a few.
there are a few. I mean, makes me cry because obviously it's Tamara and the I am your mother healing heart moment, but also the very last part of it when it's Murano going like you're just Shinichi, and the understanding she has for him and the acceptance and like the love they share and the fact that she didn't die falling off a building. But that last little exchange between them when Uragami has the knife to her, it's just I find it a very beautiful moment and it makes me go, I really love you, girl. You're a good girl to just appreciate him with his faults and the difficult stuff he's been through and just wants to forget about them and move forward with him and see where it goes from there. Gives him hope.
My most heartwarming moment is the only bit that got me choked up because we talked about it the other day. It's the bit where Miggy said how wonderful it is that humans have so much space in their heart to love so many things, and that's a wonderful gift that we have. And yeah, I didn't think something like that could get me choked up, but I was like,
Yeah.
it's true.
Our
It's the kind of thing
capacity
you
to
don't,
love.
it's the kind of thing you don't think about and you take for granted. And the fact that something that had no emotion or couldn't understand emotion got it was like, ah.
Yeah.
So that was mine. So it took an entire series for me to find the most heartwarming moment. It happened to be the emotionless Parasite. Now, there was lots of these in Parasite, but what was your most shocking reveal?
Ooh.
There were quite a few times that we were like, bomb drop, bomb
Yeah.
drop, bomb drop. Like
Oh. Oh.
like the facts of that Goto was 5 parasites and
Yeah, when Yamanishi, oh, pronunciations. When the mayor wasn't a parasite.
yeah, Hirakawa.
That's it. When
Yeah,
Hirakawa wasn't a parasite, and you were like, you are just a dude that cares about the environment. I
yeah,
mean, well educated and you have a platform, but you're literally a human that cares about the environment. Was not expecting that.
yeah. It wasn't a war of parasite versus humans. It was a war of human versus human, but using parasites as a weapon. And the fact that they said it right at the start, oh, these can be weaponized, sort of thing.
Yeah.
They are being weaponized. It's exactly what's happening. It's like, ooh, foreshadowing.
Yeah. I think that was one of my biggest Bond drops. And when Shinichi gets stabbed in the heart, because you're just like, it's our
Yeah.
main character dead. But how are you going to come back from that? You've literally just been impaled through the heart.
And you're like, there's still like over 10 episodes to go. I don't quite understand what's
Yes.
going on. I also like the reveal of Uda and how he is a parasite because we weren't really expecting that either.
Oh,
The fact
yes.
that he
Running
had
along the
a face
beach and it's like,
tat.
haha. And he's just like, oh dear.
Yeah, because you could see it wasn't who he was running after, but at the same time, you're like, well, how's this dude a parasite? Oh, he's like Sonichi. There's another Sonichi. Yay! So that was a good shocking reveal, but still, it was still a one that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah. Took me by surprise.
Yeah, it's funny that everything that we've talked about, we haven't mentioned Goto at all, even though he was like a really big part of this, you know?
Yeah, but we kind of had with slowly. I thought it was more shocking when Mickey turned out to just be like the derp extra head, and actually Goto was the one in charge. Like I was,
What?
oh, there's only 3 in 1 because he's a bit of a derp and couldn't control the rest. And then it turns out that he wasn't actually the brains of that particular operation. Once I knew Goto existed, I just expected him to keep ramping up until his final form.
But what I mean is, if everything we've said, favorite character, least favorite moment, etc., Goto hasn't come up once because I don't know. It's he. I mean, there was a lot of shocking moments with him. It was a
He
very
was.
good
I mean, he's a
character.
cool character. I love the design. But he is just the final form big bad. He didn't really have an emotional journey, and he didn't really have character development. But he
Final
was just
boss.
he was the final boss in his final form.
So there were a lot of messages in this. I mean, I can list off all the ones that I got out of it. There was world overpopulation, humans versus nature, emotions, mother's love, intuitive women, monsters versus human nature. But the whole umbrella that this all came on under is what is human? What
Yeah.
makes you a human? And after going through those, you wanted to talk about the women in this, didn't you?
Yes. Because one of my things I get from this is how the whole thing comes back to the idea of Mother Earth. And then when you start thinking about Mother Earth, you start realizing how many different types of women are represented in this, like the mother, the wife, the one that's old enough with the wisdom, the one that's young and naive, which is why I'm such a believer that the parasites are not aliens or man-made. They were created by Mother Earth as a defense against all the things that were being done to her. And if you think of Earth as a character, and and Earth is mother. It's Mother Nature. We don't say Father Nature. We say Mother Earth. We say Mother Nature. We call it Gaia. And I just think that all the women and all that intuition and stuff is all that. It's all related to the idea that women and nature and Earth is that. It's like, oh, how to describe it. Gaia herself is old and wise, but in some way still young and naive, incredibly tough and resilient, but fragile. Sees what's going on around it, but at the same time cannot change what it is and is trying to forever adapt its ecosystems and environments. But sometimes that is counterproductive to the existence of humanity with natural disasters. And you see there's such a strong message in this series of motherhood. There's Shinichi's mother and that protective nature. There's Tamino Reiko's like journey of understanding what it means to nurture. There's Kana's naivety, but she's also intuitive and in touch with what's going on around her. There's Murano's optimism and hope and wish for like a better future and moving forward rather than dwelling on the past. And I always just think that the strength of the female characters is tied in to the message that we need to respect and understand Mother Nature and the earth we live in. Otherwise things will go very wrong and then she'll get upset and make parasites.
Also, it was interesting that only the women could sense the parasites. So Kana and Murano could sense something about Tanichi. And the only man that could sense it was Origami, who was a monster himself.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be a message in itself.
Yeah.
Women, intuitive, men, monsters.
Yeah. Well, I think it's because it wasn't so much that Origami was male. It was his absolute bloodlust that he was able to recognize bloodlust in others. I think if he'd been a female serial killer, still would have recognized parasites. I think, yeah, it was just so happened he was a male serial killer and he could understand the monster in other people.
I
And
think
like,
it would have
yeah.
changed it. It would have changed the series if it was a female serial killer.
Yeah, it wouldn't have fitted in with the whole like protect Mother Nature. Mother Nature nurtures us and protects us. The least we could do is respect it and not poison it.
And also with the whole Mother Nature thing, it's kind of like a exclamation mark at the end of the series with this tree being shown again, because the whole point of that tree was that Shinichi buried the puppy where the tree was, because then the puppy could give nutrients to the tree, which then gives the tree life, and it's the whole circle of life thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, very lots of symbolism.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that you have to look for, I think. Once you get the Mother Nature storyline, if you go back and look, you would be able to see a lot of it throughout the whole series.
So I remember, obviously, I'd seen it before, and I was watching it with you, and every episode was like, "This isn't the episode that makes it obvious it's about Mother Nature." And then I started second guessing myself and going, "Why is I think this is about like eco terrorism? Why do I think this is about Mother Nature trying to say please don't hurt me?" And then it kind of like you piece it together by the end, and I'm like, okay, they've made the message. But I was beginning to think, why am I so adamant the parasites were made by nature? It's like, what? And it's like, okay, now the pieces have come together, and now I can finally be like, and this is why. You have to look at it as a whole, and you have to see the parallels between female characters and Earth, and how so much of this show is just about motherhood.
We mentioned this as well in the last episode, that Hirakawa, he mentioned in that little meeting he had with Ryoko that that it was overpopulation, that the parasites were there. He didn't mention anything about nature. It was just, oh, we're overpopulated and we need to thin out. It wasn't until he did his little speech in the conference room that he then connected it to
Yeah.
the whole Earth and how we should be protecting the Earth by less of us being here.
Yes. If
Um,
we weren't all running around the Earth, basically, we are a parasite to the Earth. We are her parasites, and we are running around going, woohoo, let's destroy everything. And, that's why I believe she created the parasites as a way, as the next form of like evolution to help help things out. Another evolutionary jump. But eventually the parasites learnt about humanity and nature and evolved in a way to coexist.
is there anything else you would like to talk about?
Score. I love the
Oh,
score for this. It was very interesting scoring in this because it's not something you get a lot of in anime, dubstep.
it was
There are
really
some,
good.
like Brewhilda in the Darkness has a lot of dubstep music. It was quite uniquely scored, especially with a little bit of metal thrown in there as well. And I was just like, I wasn't expecting this from the opening. But even during the series, there's one tune that they play a lot, like emotional scenes, and I'm no good at humming, so I'm going to sing it, and it's going to just sound like, but it's that boom, boom, boom. It's the one that has the bump, bump sounds in it. And then the that one. But obviously, I can't hum or sing. It's kind of melancholy, but builds on itself. And it's just it's kind of melancholy but hopeful at the same time. It's a really unique piece of music that I absolutely adore.
Well, I really hope we don't get done for copyright because of that humming, because people might get confused with the actual one. You better be careful.
Like dun 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 dun, some bibbly blobs in the dum 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 part.
Blibbity blib blib. Yep.
Yeah, I'm like,
That's it.
oh,
We're demonetized.
I can't. I'm totally tone deaf, like absolutely horrifically so. Do you get the piece I mean, though?
I think so, yeah. The bit that I always think of is the end credit music, because it did keep popping up now and again, just in the
Yeah.
middle of episodes. It's like, this is our sad music. We're going to use it for
Yep.
emotional scenes. It's like, is it the end? Nope, they've just stuck the music in. But also the very end of the episode with Kanna's funeral, when they had it playing whilst the action was still going on.
Yeah.
That was like, woo, that's added to this. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Some horrific bloody fight going on with this lovely music behind it. Very counter, what's the word?
Contrasting. Contrasting.
Contrast.
Some constrating. I've made it some news. I've just hummed the most perfect rendition of the score.
I know.
And now I'm using my epic knowledge of the English language in full perfect dictionary English.
Well, this is the most intellectual podcast there is on YouTube at the moment,
Yeah.
so
There we go.
we have to keep up with appearances.
God, I'm a dum-dum.
Oh, please, the amount of times that I'm always like, what's that word I'm thinking of? You know the word, this thing. No, I have no idea. You know what I mean.
Wow. Better than it's constrating. We're in total construct to each other.
We're going to have to make our own dictionary. Like, no, it's in the Newbie versus Weeaboo dictionary. I think you'll find. It's our own version of the Urban Dictionary.
Yes.
Okay, well, that is the end of our Parasyte journey.
Oh, that
I
was
all
good.
enjoyed it. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a good series. Like I said, it's the only one that we've watched so far where I've actually been okay with the ending. Like,
Yes.
Not even because it was a happy ending, just because it just rounded everything off really
Yeah.
nicely.
It had an actual fully formed ending rather than like what happened there? And also, does it need 3 films of various confusion to fill in the gaps? Like, no, this is ended. I mean, if you wanted, we can watch the live action Japanese remakes, but they just retread the story again.
I'm interested to watch one of them just to see how they do it.
Yeah.
And how they portray the characters. But I mean, the only thing that this was missing is, I'm not the cake, I'm the strawberry.
Oh yeah. It's like, what? I love that. I am the melon. What about you? I'm like, how is this helping anything? Strange girls.
Because we quote it all the time now.
I know. I do absolutely love that song. And it's so stupid that I love it as much as I do, but I do.
I know, I feel the same way. Okay, Well, I don't think we need a Sagiri happy moment because this whole thing was happy. My happy
Yep.
moment is that we finished another series. On to the
Yay.
next journey. Hooray!
Woohoo!
Go straight onto social media.
So my social media is coming in on Mother Nature, on the Earth herself, on Gaia, just being our beautiful planet we live in.
Shall we show
And-
some pictures of lovely areas of the earth?
Yeah, which will basically be pictures of us at conventions, gang. This is me meeting like this lovely actor that I fancy. Isn't the Earth a wonderful place? You on the beach? Got to get a shot of you on the beach because that's
Oh,
a happy
God.
place on Earth. Or maybe feet in the sand. You know.
Me on the beach is just a picture of a seal.
Yeah.
My social media is coming in on my heart being filled with all the things I love. Oh, I love this thing. This thing's quite good. Ah, I love this thing. My heart is overfilled
I
with
thought you
love.
just your heart blew up, and I'm like,
Oh,
don't
for goodness
die.
sake. You always have to go back to explosions.
Well, you went. I'm like, why is your heart exploding?
That was like the light of love coming through because it's so filled.
Okay, well, it just sound like you got
Ruined
filled with love and exploded.
You ruined the moment.
Bit fatalist, me.
This is why I can't have nice things. Say bye-bye, Lizzie.
So from a Weeaboo, this is Johnny.
And from a newbie, it's ah.
Why do we explode?